The great outdoors, something that is very refreshing with all the nature, animals, and sometimes a horrible killer. And today we have two killers in the woods out to hunt each other down until only one stands left. Jason Voorhees from Friday the 13th versus Slenderman from Slender. I will analyze each weapon feat skills and I will find out who would win in a fight. Now for the origin. Camp Crystal Lake was a very peaceful place where kids go to have fun and do fun activities. But unfortunately, one of these kids was not like the rest. Jason grew up being bullied since he had a facial disorient. Because of this, he was bullied by the other kids. He tried to run away, but then he was caught and thrown in the lake by the kids. He was drowning, and eventually he was assumed dead. Because of this, his mother, Pamela Voorhees, wanted revenge. So she set out to kill the Camp Crystal Lake members who were having sex during Jason's drowning. She will kill them because they were the reasons why her son died. But unfortunately, she died afterward. But Jason wasn't dead. He eventually took the killer role and became the next killer of the Friday the 13th franchise. For Jason to be a killer, he has to have pretty good stats, and luckily he does. He is very strong and durable. He can take many bullets and he can punch heads off with a single punch. That makes him very strong and tough. But unfortunately, he is very slow, not being able to run fast or even run at all. Jason also needs a set of weapons and abilities to help kill his prey. Luckily, he has that. His primary weapon is his machete. This long blade can hack someone in half and is very strong. But over the years, it's been rusted, and that will even hurt more since you will gain poison. He also has a teleportation ability that lets him teleport, a shadow walk ability that gives him more speed but can't attack, a sense that lets him sense anyone's presence, and a small regeneration deck. This helps him regenerate most of his tissue when it was destroyed. It was very useful since he took a ton of hits from these attacks for the majority of his time. He is very strong, and with this regeneration, he can take as much hits as he can. Jason has done a bunch of crazy things over his time. He has once punched a guy's head off with a single punch. He cut a guy in half several times, in fact. He killed many people by sticking something through their eyes and out their skulls. He can take many bullets, even some from the future. He killed over 50 people by my count during the several Friday the 13th movies. He stood against Freddy Krueger and even won, but that feat did have him get help. He survived an explosion that destroyed an entire space shuttle. He fought someone who with telekinesis abilities. He has done a ton of crazy things over his time. He even found a way to possess people and came back from the dead a ton of times for this. Now, Jason is no perfect fighter. He is very slow, causing him to lack in speed, which makes it easier to dodge his attacks unless you're very vulnerable. And he can be defeated by destroying his head or having him choked to death. He is not invincible, but he is still very durable and can kill you anytime at Camp Crystal Lake. Jason has proven himself to be one of the most formidable slashers in the entire history. He can kill many people, even some space marines, and even took on some very superpowered fighters during his time on the silver screen. But let's see how his opponent, the Slenderman, holds up against this slasher villain. In the woods, there has been a myth told for years that a strange man with a blank face, very tall, lives in those woods. That man is known as the Slenderman. Slenderman is a 1,000-year-old demon who has murdered many people over the years. That makes him very strong. He has been able to set up several myths and even video games of his time. He is a creepypasta, a legend, but can also be true, which makes it even more scary. He was able to turn several people into his proxies, making them a loyal member of his thing. Now, let's see how strong he is and if he can take on Jason Voorhees. Slenderman has very good physical stats. He is very strong and durable, and is average speed and agility. He is strong enough to rip out a tree stumps with his tentacle, and is durable enough to take some very good punishments to his body. Slenderman has very useful abilities, from his tentacles being able to rip you in half, from his teleportation, and his mind controlling. He can mind control people into sanity and even having them suicide themselves. He is very scary when you really think about it. Slenderman has done some very impressive things, from killing several people over the years, from defeating several armed people with guns. He has killed many people, including turning some of those into proxies of his. He also has took on Jeff the Killer, and he is very dangerous. Now, Slenderman also has some weakness. His weakness is the same as Jason in his head. By destroying it, he dies along with anyone else he has killed. Also, the majority of his victims are helpless and innocent children, but he is still one of the most dangerous creepypastas in the entire creepypasta universe. Now, this fight will take place at Camp Crystal Lake with no preparation. This fight will have no prep, meaning no time to prepare. The fight will take place in a forest at Camp Crystal Lake, so we will see who would be the true victor of the forest. Now the results are loaded in, and the winner of the fight is Slenderman. Slenderman had the edge in most categories, including speed and experience. He has more abilities than Jason, and is smarter. His mind control can confuse Jason into sanity, which would very hurt Jason. Now, Jason does have an edge in both strength and durability, but that won't help him. Him surviving an explosion of a space shuttle is good, but that was only in his Uber Jason form, which isn't very good since he will not have that during this fight. And that strength and durability won't be enough to beat Slenderman. Now for the next fighters, I can do the normal thing and show you a clip of the next fighters, but instead I'm gonna make this more fun. I will give you a hint to the next fighter. If you comment down below in this video and get at least one of the fighters right, your comment will show up on the video where I reveal the next fighters, and then might be also be on the video where the actual fight happens. Anyway, here are the hints. A killer who murdered 5 children. A killer who does anything for her senpai.